Welcome to Hidden Truths, where we uncover the secrets of love that society tries to hide and share the stories no one dares to tell. You've just arrived at the channel that reveals the most compelling, deeply emotional, and unforgettable stories of real relationships. Here, we don't just share romances, we expose the hidden truths about love that challenge everything you thought you knew. In today's video, we step into the dangerous territory of forbidden attraction. That moment when loyalty is tested, when desire appears where it shouldn't, and when a single confession threatens to destroy everything you've built. Sometimes, it's your partner's best friend who becomes the temptation. Other times, it's a late-night conversation that reveals feelings that should have stayed buried forever. You'll hear about people who faced impossible choices, wrestled with guilt and desire, and discovered that the line between right and wrong isn't always as clear as we'd like to believe. These aren't only tales of betrayal. Their journeys of self-discovery, moral complexity, and the courage to face truths we wish we never knew. My name is David. I'm 32 years old, and until 3 months ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I had what everyone dreams of: a beautiful wife, a comfortable home, a stable career, and most importantly, a marriage that felt unshakable. My wife Rachel and I had been together for 8 years. Married for 5. We met in college, fell in love over late-night study sessions and cheap pizza, and built a life that felt like something out of a romance novel. She was my best friend, my partner, my everything. Rachel worked as a graphic designer for a marketing firm downtown. She was talented, ambitious, and had this infectious energy that made everyone around her smile. I worked in software development, which meant I spent most of my days behind a computer screen. But coming home to Rachel made every long day worthwhile. We had our routines: Sunday morning pancakes, Friday movie nights, monthly dinner dates at the Italian restaurant where I proposed. We argued sometimes, sure, but never about anything serious. We were that couple that other couples envied, the ones who still held hands in public after 5 years of marriage, who could communicate with just a glance across a crowded room. I thought nothing could touch us. I thought our foundation was solid. I was wrong. It all started 3 months ago when Rachel came home from work with news that would change everything, though I didn't know it at the time. "David, I need to talk to you about something," she said, setting her bag down and sitting beside me on the couch. There was something in her tone that made me pause the game I was playing. "What's wrong?" I asked, turning to face her fully. "Nothing's wrong, exactly. It's about Maya." Maya. Rachel's best friend since childhood. They'd grown up together, gone to different colleges, but stayed close and talked almost every day. I'd known Maya almost as long as I'd known Rachel. She'd been at our wedding, had celebrated every milestone with us, and was basically family. Maya was 28, 4 years younger than Rachel and me. She was beautiful in a different way than Rachel. Where Rachel was warm sunshine, Maya was mysterious moonlight. She had this quiet intensity about her, like she was always thinking deeper thoughts than she shared. She worked as a freelance journalist, traveling often for stories, living what seemed like an exciting but unstable life. "What about Maya?" I asked. Rachel took a deep breath. She lost her apartment. The building is being sold and renovated, and with her freelance income being inconsistent, she's having trouble finding a new place she can afford. She's been staying in hotels, but it's draining her savings. I could see where this was going. And honestly, it seemed like an easy decision. "You want her to stay with us for a while?" Rachel's face lit up with relief. "Would you be okay with that? I know we value our privacy, but she's like a sister to me, and she's really struggling. It would just be temporary. Maybe a month or two until she finds something." I smiled and took her hand. "Rachel, of course. Maya's family. She can stay in the guest room as long as she needs." Rachel threw her arms around me. "Thank you. I knew you'd understand. This is why I love you." That was 2.5 months ago. If I'd known what was coming, would I have made the same decision? That's the question that keeps me awake at night. Maya moved in the following weekend. She arrived with just 3 suitcases and a laptop bag, apologizing profusely for the inconvenience. "I promise I'll be the perfect house guest," she said, standing in our entryway looking genuinely grateful. "You won't even know I'm here. I'll help with groceries, cleaning, whatever you need. Maya, relax. Rachel laughed, hugging her friend. This is your home now, for as long as you need it. Right, David? Absolutely. I agreed, carrying one of her suitcases upstairs to the guest room. Make yourself comfortable. The first week was completely normal. Maya was the ideal house guest. Neat, considerate, often working late in her room on various articles. The three of us would have dinner together most nights, sharing stories about our days, laughing at inside jokes between Rachel and Maya from their childhood. I enjoyed having her around, honestly. She brought new energy into the house. Where it had been just Rachel and me in our comfortable routines, now there was variety. Maya would cook international dishes she'd learned about during her travels. She'd share fascinating stories from her journalism work. She made Rachel laugh in ways I sometimes couldn't. It felt like having a sister living with us. That's what I told myself. The first crack in that comfortable narrative came in the second week. I was working from home that day, taking a break in the kitchen to make coffee around 2 in the afternoon. Maya came downstairs, looking frustrated. Her hair pulled up in a messy bun, wearing sweatpants and an oversized sweater. Writer's block? I asked, pouring a second cup without asking and handing it to her. She accepted it with a grateful smile. Is it that obvious? I've been staring at this article about urban development for 3 hours and I've written maybe 2 decent paragraphs. Want to talk about it? Sometimes explaining it to someone else helps. We sat at the kitchen table, and she started telling me about the article, about the complexities of gentrification and community displacement. I'm not sure when the conversation shifted from her work to deeper topics, urban philosophy, what makes a place feel like home, our own experiences with belonging and displacement. We talked for over an hour. At some point, I realized how intently she was looking at me, how our chairs had somehow moved closer together, how the afternoon light was catching in her dark hair in a way that was objectively beautiful. And then Rachel came home early, and the spell broke. What are you two up to? Rachel asked cheerfully, setting down her bag and kissing me on the cheek before hugging Maya. Just curing my writer's block, Maya said smoothly. David's better than therapy. Rachel laughed. He's good at that. Sometimes I think he missed his calling as a counselor. The moment passed, but something had shifted. I caught Maya watching me during dinner that night. When our eyes met, she didn't look away immediately like she used to. Instead, she held my gaze for just a fraction of a second too long before smiling and turning back to her conversation with Rachel. I told myself I was imagining things. The incidents became more frequent. Small moments that could be explained away individually but formed a pattern when viewed together. There was the morning I came downstairs early for a run and found Maya in the kitchen in shorts and a tank top, stretching before her own workout. The way she said, "Good morning," was somehow different than usual. Softer, more intimate. There was the movie night when the three of us were watching a thriller. And during a tense scene, Maya grabbed my arm instead of Rachel's, her fingers digging into my forearm. She apologized immediately, laughing at herself, but I could still feel the warmth of her touch hours later. There was the evening I was fixing the door hinge on the guest room, and Maya stood very close to me, watching, asking questions about how the repair worked. I could smell her perfume, something subtle and expensive that was completely different from Rachel's floral scent. "You're good with your hands," she commented, and there was something in her voice that made the innocent observation sound like something else entirely. I was becoming hyper-aware of her presence. I knew her schedule without meaning to. I found myself listening for the sound of her coming downstairs. I started noticing things: the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was thinking, the way she bit her lower lip when she was reading something interesting, the way her eyes crinkled when she genuinely laughed versus when she was being polite. And the terrifying part? I was starting to realize I wasn't imagining her attention. She was watching me too. But I loved Rachel. I was committed to Rachel. This was just, what? Proximity? Novelty? A temporary attraction that would fade once Maya moved out? I pushed the thoughts away. I was more affectionate with Rachel, more attentive, as if I could prove to myself that my marriage was the only thing that mattered. Rachel noticed. "You're being extra sweet lately," she said one night as we were getting ready for bed. Not that I'm complaining, just reminded of how lucky I am, I told her. And it was true, I was lucky. I had everything I needed, so why did I keep thinking about Maya? Week 4, that's when everything went completely off the rails. Rachel had a work conference in Chicago. 3 days, 2 nights. It was an important opportunity for her. A chance to network with major clients. She'd been looking forward to it for months. Are you sure you'll be okay? She asked as she packed. I feel bad leaving you and Maya alone, Rachel. We're adults. We'll survive 2 days. I kissed her forehead. Go impress those clients and come back with some big contracts. Van, she left early Friday morning. I went to work as usual. Maya was home writing. Everything was normal. Until it wasn't. Friday night, Maya and I ordered takeout and watched a documentary she'd been wanting to see. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, carefully maintaining distance, like we both knew we needed to be cautious. The conversation during dinner was safe, surface level. But after the documentary ended, as we were both standing in the kitchen putting away dishes, she spoke. And can I ask you something, David? Of course. She turned to face me, leaning against the counter. Do you ever feel like you're living the life you're supposed to live? But there's this other version of yourself that wants something completely different? Bensick, it was the kind of question that begged for honesty. Sometimes I think everyone does. Why? Samiender, I've been thinking about it a lot lately. Being here, watching you and Rachel, seeing what a real partnership looks like. She paused, choosing her words carefully. Lee, it makes me realize what I don't have. But it also makes me wonder about the paths we don't take, the feelings we don't act on because they're inconvenient or inappropriate. My heart started beating faster. Maya, I should go to bed, she said quickly, as if realizing she'd said too much. Long day tomorrow. Good night, David. She left before I could respond. I didn't sleep well that night. I kept replaying the conversation, analyzing every word, every pause. What was she really saying? Was I reading too much into it? Or was she confirming what I'd been feeling but refusing to acknowledge? On Saturday was awkward. We barely spoke, both of us working in separate rooms. I went to the gym for 3 hours just to avoid the tension. When I came back, Maya was in the kitchen making dinner. I made enough for 2, she said without looking at me. If you're hungry? We ate in near silence. The air between us felt electric, charged with everything we weren't saying. After dinner, I excused myself and went to bed early, around 10 p.m. I lay there in the dark, in the bed I shared with my wife, trying not to think about the woman down the hall who was occupying far too much space in my mind. I must have fallen asleep eventually because I woke up to the sound of movement downstairs. My phone showed. She-T-A-M. Maybe it was a burglar. Maybe Maya was sick. Maybe I was looking for an excuse to see her. Whatever the reason, I got up, pulled on a t-shirt over my boxer shorts, and went downstairs. The kitchen light was on, soft and warm in the darkness. Maya was standing at the counter in a silk pajama set, navy blue, modest but elegant. She had a glass of water in her hand and was staring out the window at our backyard, lost in thought. Couldn't sleep? I asked softly. She turned, not startled, as if she'd known I would come. No. You? And heard you moving around, wanted to make sure you were okay. That's very attentive of you. She set down the water glass. You're always attentive. It's one of the things She stopped herself. Bang. I should have gone back upstairs. I should have said goodnight. I should have maintained the distance that was keeping us both safe. Instead, I walked further into the kitchen. Buns, one of the things you what? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Maya closed her eyes briefly, like she was gathering courage. When she opened them, there was a vulnerability there I'd never seen before. David, I need to tell you something. I've been trying not to. I've been fighting it for weeks. But being in this house, seeing you every day, pretending I don't feel what I feel, it's destroying me. Blonden, prim second me sekisepi BSL, my mouth went dry. Maya, don't, I have to, because if I don't say it now, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering, what if? She took a step closer. I'm in love with you, David. I've been in love with you since your wedding day." The world tilted. I grabbed the edge of the counter to steady myself. "Ifers." "Paul, what?" "Benna, I stood there at your wedding, watching you marry my best friend, and I realized that I'd spent years pushing down feelings I didn't want to acknowledge. I told myself it was just a crush, that it would fade. I threw myself into my work, traveled constantly, dated other people. Nothing worked. And then Rachel asked if I could stay here, and I should have said no. I should have found another solution. But I was selfish. I wanted to be near you, even knowing it was dangerous. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Maya, you're Rachel's best friend. She trusts you. She trusts both of us, I know." Tears were forming in her eyes. "Don't you think I know that? Don't you think I hate myself for feeling this way? But I can't turn it off, David. Especially not after living here, seeing who you really are every single day. Palanjit, who I really am, is a married man who loves his wife," I said, but my voice wasn't as firm as I wanted it to be. "Pauline, I know you love her. I'm not asking you to stop loving her. I'm not asking you for anything, actually. I just needed you to know the truth. Because every morning when you smile at me, every conversation we have, every accidental touch, it means something different to me than it does to you. And I can't keep pretending it doesn't." Pauline, she was crying now, silent tears running down her face, and every instinct in me wanted to reach out and comfort her. "And why are you telling me this?" I asked. "What do you expect me to do with this information? You know?" "Dan, nothing. I expect you to do absolutely nothing. I'll move out tomorrow. I'll find somewhere else to stay. Rachel never has to know. You can go back to your perfect marriage and your perfect life, and I'll go back to avoiding you both at gatherings and pretending my heart doesn't break every time I see you together. Polda Maya, but I needed you to know that someone sees you, really sees you. I see how hard you work to make Rachel happy. I see how you fix things without being asked, how you listen when people talk, how you try to make everyone around you comfortable. I see the way you bite your thumbnail when you're thinking, the way you run your hand through your hair when you're frustrated, the way your whole face changes when you laugh at something genuinely funny." "Yokang, stop," I said, but it came out weak. "I see all of you, David, and I'm in love with all of it. And I know I'm a terrible person for telling you this. I know I'm betraying my best friend just by saying these words, but I couldn't leave without you knowing that you're extraordinary. And whoever gets your love is the luckiest person in the world." The kitchen felt impossibly small. The space between us felt like both miles and inches simultaneously. "I can't do this," I whispered. "Mayn't I know?" She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. I'll pack tomorrow and be gone by the time you get home from work. We can tell Rachel the apartment search finally worked out and everything can go back to normal." Ends. She started to walk past me toward the stairs, and in that moment, watching her leave, something inside me broke. "Amaya, wait," she stopped, her back to me. "You're not the only one who's been fighting something." Bah. She turned slowly, her eyes wide, searching my face. I ran both hands through my hair, a gesture she'd apparently memorized. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself it was just proximity, that any man would notice an attractive woman living in his house. I told myself I was happy with my marriage and that these thoughts were just temporary noise that would go away, David. No, but they didn't go away, they got stronger. And I started noticing things about you that I had no business noticing. And I started looking forward to moments alone with you in ways that made me feel guilty. And I stopped, the words catching in my throat. "And you what?" she whispered. "It means I started wondering what it would be like if I'd met you first. If there was no Rachel, no history, no betrayal. If it was just you and me and these conversations, and this connection that feels like nothing I've ever experienced." Bamaya's breath caught audibly. She took a step toward me, then stopped herself. "What are we doing? I don't know. But I know that when you said you were going to leave, something in me panicked. And I know that right now, at 2:30 in the morning in this kitchen, the only thing I want to do is, I couldn't finish the sentence. Because finishing it would make it real. Damdidio is what?" Maya asked, and she was closer now. close enough that I could see the tears still glistening on her cheeks, close enough that I could smell that subtle perfume, close enough that it would take almost nothing to close the distance between us. This is wrong, I said. I know Rachel trusts us. I know. If we cross this line, everything changes. I know, man, we stood there, frozen in that moment of possibility, both of us knowing we were at a precipice. One move, one touch, one kiss, and there would be no going back. Ains, tell me to go upstairs, Maya said, her voice shaking. Tell me to leave, and I will. Tell me you don't feel anything, and I'll believe you, and I'll disappear from your life, and Rachel will never know. Amend, I can't tell you that. Then tell me what you want, David. Because I need to know if I'm alone in this, or if you feel even a fraction of what I feel. Shrank, what did I want? In that moment, I wanted to be the loyal husband who sent her upstairs, and called Rachel immediately to confess everything and rebuild the trust. I wanted to be the honorable man who put his marriage above everything else. Jandius. But I also wanted to know what her lips tasted like. I wanted to know what it felt like to hold someone who saw me so completely. I wanted to explore this connection that felt electric and terrifying and undeniable. And I feel it, I admitted, the words barely audible. God help me, I feel it too. Uncle Maya closed her eyes, and when she opened them, there was both relief and anguish. There. So what do we do? I don't know. Do we ignore it? Do we act on it? Do we tell Rachel? I don't know. I don't know anything anymore except that everything I thought I understood about loyalty and love and commitment is completely scrambled. We stood there in silence, the tension so thick I could barely breathe. And then Maya did something I didn't expect. She stepped back, putting more distance between us. I'm not going to be the reason you betray your wife, she said firmly. I'm not going to be the woman who destroys a marriage. I love Rachel too much for that. And honestly, I love you too much to turn you into someone who cheats, Maya. No. Listen to me. What we feel is real. I believe that. But acting on it would be the most selfish thing either of us could do. It would hurt the person we both love most. So here's what's going to happen. She was taking control of the situation, and I was grateful for it because I certainly couldn't. Bates, tomorrow, I'm going to pack my things and leave. I'm going to pack my things and leave. I'm going to find somewhere else to stay, and you're going to decide what you want your life to look like. If you decide you want your marriage, that you want Rachel, then we never speak of this again. We become acquaintances who see each other occasionally at gatherings and keep our distance. And if I decide differently, I asked, though I wasn't sure why, then you need to be honest with Rachel first. You need to end your marriage with integrity, not because you're running toward me, but because it's not right for you anymore. And even then, David, there's no guarantee of an us, because starting a relationship on the foundation of betrayal, that's not the love story I want. That's not the love story you deserve. She was right. Of course she was right, but knowing she was right didn't make any of this easier. Bond. When did you become so wise? I asked, attempting a smile that didn't quite work. Bane, around the same time I became stupid enough to fall in love with my best friend's husband? Huh. Banco. She walked to the stairs, then paused with her hand on the railing. For what it's worth, David, these past weeks have been some of the happiest of my life. Just being near you, talking to you, being seen by you, it's been everything. Even if it can never be more than this, I'll cherish these moments forever. Maya, good night, David. Thank you for being honest with me. And thank you for being the kind of man who struggles with this decision instead of just acting on impulse. It's one of the many reasons I love you. Tizia. Jianza. She went upstairs, and I stood alone in the kitchen, my mind racing, my heart torn in directions I didn't know how to reconcile. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I sat on the couch in the living room, watching the sun come up, trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do. By the time morning came, I'd made my decision. I grabbed my phone and called Rachel. Onward, hey baby, she answered, sounding happy. You're up early. Everything okay? Yo, Rachel, We need to talk. Can you come home today? I know the conference isn't over, but this is important. Her tone shifted immediately. What's wrong? Is someone hurt? Is it Maya? No one's hurt, but I need to talk to you in person. It can't wait. You know, there was a long pause. David, you're scaring me. I'm sorry. Please come home. I'll catch the next flight. I'll be there by this afternoon. When I hung up, I felt both relief and terror. I went upstairs and knocked softly on Maya's door. Come in, she called. And beyond, she was already dressed, her suitcases open on the bed, half packed. She looked like she hadn't slept either. Bendai called Rachel, I said. I asked her to come home. I'm going to tell her everything. Maya's face went pale. David, no, you don't have to do that. We didn't actually do anything. We can just forget this happened. Can you honestly forget this conversation? Because I can't, and I won't start my marriage's next chapter with this secret between us. Whatever happens, Rachel deserves the truth. Jem, she's going to hate me. She's going to hate both of us, maybe. Probably. But living with this secret would be worse. Maya sat down on the edge of the bed, her hands shaking. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. No, it's not. We both feel what we feel. We didn't plan this. We didn't pursue it. But we do need to face it honestly. When is she coming home? This afternoon, Maya nodded slowly. Then I'll stay. I'll be here when you tell her. She deserves to hear it from both of us. The hours until Rachel arrived were torture. Maya finished packing in silence. I tried to work but couldn't focus on anything. We avoided each other, both of us dreading the confrontation to come. Means at Sen Ling PM. I heard Rachel's car in the driveway. My heart started pounding so hard I thought it might burst from my chest. She came through the door looking worried, dropping her bags and immediately coming to me. David, what's going on? You never call me home early. You're making me terrified. And Maya appeared at the top of the stairs. Rachel. And Rachel looked between us, and I could see her mind working, trying to figure out what could possibly require both of us to be here for this conversation. Come sit down, I said gently, guiding her to the couch. David, you're really scaring me now. But she sat, and I sat beside her, taking her hands in mine. Maya came downstairs and sat in the chair across from us, her face pale. Rachel. I started, my voice unsteady. Something happened last night, nothing physical, but something important. And I need to tell you about it because I can't keep it from you. Rachel's eyes widened. She looked at Maya, then back at me. What kind of something? Maya told me that she has feelings for me. Strong feelings. Romantic feelings. Rachel's hands went rigid in mine. She turned to look at her best friend, her face a mixture of shock and betrayal. Maya? But Maya's eyes were filled with tears. I'm so sorry, Rachel. I never meant for this to happen. I've been fighting it for years, but living here, I couldn't keep pretending. I told him last night, and I'm moving out today. You don't have to see me again if you don't want to. Bant, Rachel pulled her hands away from mine. You've been in love with my husband? For years, and you didn't think to tell me? To stay away? I tried to stay away, I really did. But when you asked if I could stay here, I was selfish. I wanted to be near him, even knowing it was wrong. Rachel stood up, pacing, her hands going to her head. I can't believe this. My best friend and my husband. Rachel, I interrupted. There's more you need to know. She stopped, turning to me with eyes full of hurt. What more could there possibly be? I have feelings too. Not as long as Maya, and I've been fighting them, but they exist. And I won't lie to you and say they don't. The look on Rachel's face nearly destroyed me. It was pure devastation. You're in love with Maya? I don't know if it's love. I know I love you. I know I meant every vow I made to you. But I also know I feel something for Maya that confuses me, that I didn't expect, that makes me question things I thought I understood about myself. Rachel sank back onto the couch, and for a long moment, no one spoke. She was processing, her mind working through the implications, the betrayal, the complexity of it all. Then she did something completely unexpected. She started laughing. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was bitter, almost hysterical. Oh my God, Rachel? Maya said tentatively. When Rachel looked up at both of us, and there was something in her eyes that I couldn't read. Do you know what the really messed up part of this is? Yo. Tremant, we both stayed silent, waiting. I knew. Ayan Bien, those two words hit like a bomb. What? Maya and I said simultaneously. I knew, David. I've known for weeks that something was happening between you two. I saw the way you looked at each other. I saw the tension. I heard you talking in the kitchen that afternoon, and the energy between you was obvious, even from the other room. Am Strinda, my mind was reeling. You knew? Then why didn't you say anything? Bandia. Because I wanted to see what you would do. Rachel stood up again, her voice getting stronger. I wanted to see if my husband would betray me. I wanted to see if my best friend would make a move. I set up this whole weekend away on purpose, David. I wanted to see what would happen if I left you two alone. This was a test? Maya asked, her voice barely a whisper. Oh.